How's it going, guys? So, this came to my attention the other day. We had Kathleen Kennedy announcing the other day at a Lucasfilm event. It was the Walt Disney Company's Investor Day event, announcing a large amount of Lucasfilm projects, mostly Star Wars projects. And it is quite a bit here, and I'm gonna go through them here on screen with you, and give you my thoughts. But this is a lot of stuff, and okay. First and foremost, it would seem kind of silly that I, a Star Wars fan, rant about this and say anything negative, right? Because I didn't exactly hate the sequel trilogy. I think I'm long overdue to probably make a video on how my opinions have changed on it. And I don't hate it. Things have changed when it comes to my view on the Rise of Skywalker and the way how things kind of got wrapped up with that film. So we'll do that in the future here. But I'm concerned that it's too much of a good thing, that maybe they're going a bit overboard, and that's kind of going to be my main viewpoint on this, I'm going to say, because this is a lot of stuff that was announced. I'm sorry. It's just a very, very large number of shows and movies. And I thought they said they were going to be taking a break from films from following the Rise of Skywalker, and how the movie did not do well. It did not meet expectations box office wise. And remember, that was before the pandemic even. So it was kind of disgraceful, really, to say the least, that a Star Wars film, remember just Star Wars films, how well we are so accustomed to them doing in the box office, and the fact that this couldn't get it done was kind of a real shame, a shame on Kathleen Kennedy. And she's made herself extremely unpopular amongst many Star Wars fans, especially lifelong ones such as myself. She's done a really bad job with PR, and how she's reacted towards fans and the criticism. And I don't think that, I've been watching a lot of things, over the past few months, a lot of stuff that has come out following the Rise of Skywalker's release. And Kathleen Kennedy did not follow George Lucas's lead. It's funny in retrospect, people don't notice when things happen, in the current time frame. But when we look back on things, we realize, that things did not turn out as they said that they were going to. Seriously, Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy, they were not a very good team. They did not follow through on George Lucas's vision. They basically took his script, his vision for a sequel trilogy, and they basically trounced all over it, threw it in the shredder, and then took the pieces and then, flung them off a cliff. I mean, basically, it was just nothing in the way that Lucas had really envisioned. The only thing that they got right was in The Last Jedi with Luke. I mean, they did get that pretty close if you kind of look at it. Anyway, let's take a look at some of these shows here. So first up, we got Rogue Squadron. And we've got the next Star Wars feature film will be Rogue Squadron, directed by Patty Jenkins of the Wonder Woman franchise, which I haven't seen any of those films. A lot of these descriptions are not very specific. There's not really a script. I don't know if they even have a rough draft or anything like that. They say that this film is going to be coming out in Christmas of 2023. So, that's 3 years away. It's a long way off. But, if it could be good, it definitely would be great to see. I mean, I would be all for this Rogue Squadron. I mean, I don't know who they're going to have in it. Are they going to have Luke Skywalker in there? It could be done. It could be interesting. I mean, could you imagine that if they call back Mark Hamill to do this film? It could be something exciting, but we'll have to see if this is maybe something best left to the video games. But, I'm definitely not opposed to it. It definitely could be interesting. Obviously they'd have to really make this very space focused. There'd have to be quite a few dog fights in it. Without making it like way too action packed, they'd have to add in a sense of drama. They'd have to have a sense of charm. They did do a very good job with Rogue One. That definitely had that like big battle sense going to it. It wasn't a perfect Star Wars film. It was a flawed Star Wars film. It didn't exactly have, very special feeling characters. There was no Luke, there was no Han, there was no Leia, there was no Rey, there was no Kylo Ren. There were really not too many sympathetic, characters. There really wasn't too much, but it was just a good film. It was a stylish film with quite a bit to offer, really, but not really in the way of character development, sadly. Then we move on to an untitled Taika Waititi film, which this guy, he directed Thor Ragnarok. He's had a few film appearances. He directed the season finale of the first season of The Mandalorian. So, that was a very good episode. But is he ready to take on an entire film? It's one thing to do like a 40-minute episode, but to do an entire movie, I guess you'd at least just have to get an hour more of content in there and make it exciting and fresh and, just enthralling in some way. But, maybe there's not a lot here. There's no real ideas. And this is something that's kind of disappointing. They make this kind of announcement to investors and you don't really know what it is. They just talk about his talent and his approach to Star Wars would be fresh and unexpected. And, he did direct an episode of Mandalorian. All those ideas were obviously not his. Obviously, some of those belong to Jon Favreau. Even Lucas is involved in the project. Dave Filoni is there. So there's a lot of ideas being bounced around, and I don't know how much of his ideas made it into the redemption, so to speak. It's the director doesn't always have all the ideas, but they don't even have a title for this thing. There's working titles, but they don't even have a concept, a plot, characters. No one's been casted for the film yet. Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. They announced that Hayden Christensen is actually going to be in here. And this is going to be really exciting for me. And the series will be directed by Deborah Chow, who helmed memorable episodes of The Mandalorian Season 1. So I'm all for this. I'm kind of surprised that they're not going the Mandalorian route with like different directors, for like... for different episodes. They've had some returning directors. But I kind of like that style because you get different flavors from week to week, from episode to episode. But for some reason, I guess they really want this one particular director to focus on this series. Maybe so it has more of a focused narrative more, than The Mandalorian. I don't think maybe they want as many branching paths and different ideas. I think they might want to make this a bit more simple. I would really, really want this to... I would really enjoy this to be a bit more on the dialogue side. I would love to hear more philosophy from Kenobi, when he's in exile. Like, what is he learning about the galaxy? What is he learning about his surrounding? What is he thinking about? It's going to be interesting to see what kind of content, because it obviously can't be Kenobi just, going on... crazy adventures all the time, but maybe I don't know. What would Kenobi do in this, where it's going to be taking place after Revenge of the Sith, 10 years after? Perhaps they could write that in. It's kind of vague. Luke and Obi-Wan don't really get into what happened since he's been in exile on Tatooine. But there definitely is a lot of room here for creativity, and I hope they take the Mandalorian route. She did direct those episodes in the first season. So there definitely is a lot of room to work with. There's a lot of empty space. There's a lot of gray areas. So they really could get very creative here. And I really hope that they do. Star Wars Ahsoka. Like I said, I know her character changed in the Clone Wars. And people always say that. The show didn't really start off on the best foot. So I need to really get into the Clone Wars. But I still want to watch those early episodes because I think I will probably appreciate Ahsoka's character development throughout the series, because by the time they reach the final season, I know like she's an awesome character, and I liked her episode in The Mandalorian. And we will be seeing, this is going to be live action, by the way. They say it's going, after making her long awaited live action debut in The Mandalorian, Ahsoka Tano's story, written by Dave Filoni, will continue in a limited series starring Rosario Dawson and executive produced by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. So who's going to direct it? Who is going to actually produce it? It remains to be seen, apparently. I think I'd have a bit more confidence if Favreau and Filoni were actually at the helm. We've come to see that executive producers really don't do a whole lot. It's kind of more like a supervisor type of role. They don't really get too involved in the creative process. It's kind of like not really too much. I don't really know like so much what they do, but their name is just kind of there to take credit a lot of the times. Like it's not like being a main producer or director. But I like Ahsoka, and I did like Rosario Dawson's interpretation. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the Clone Wars, but if Rosario Dawson could keep that character kind of like how she did in The Mandalorian, that would be fantastic. But with different hands touching this, it's probably going to be different. I can't imagine it's going to be the same. So it'll be interesting to see this at the very least, I think. We will see with that one. Yeah, Star Wars Rangers of the New Republic. This obviously is going to be, something kind of militaristic. There's probably going to be adventures and stuff. But this is going to be another live action show. And again, executive produced by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and it will intersect with future stories and culminate into a climactic story event, and it's set within the timeline of The Mandalorian. This is, again, super vague. I don't know, even look at the way they worded this. It will intersect with future stories and culminate in a climactic story event. So, apparently that kind of means that this is probably going to intersect with another one of the Star Wars TV series. It's probably maybe The Mandalorian, maybe with Ahsoka, maybe with all of them. I've got a feeling that they're going to go the Avengers route. And that could be interesting, I think. But here's the thing about that, guys. Here's the big thing where I'm concerned about, which no one ever wanted to admit when it came to the Marvel films. The Marvel films left a lot to be desired, to say the very least. A lot of those Avenger films, when they got together, a lot of them were really kind of boring and drab. I enjoyed a lot of the individual stories, but a lot of times they kept building in a lot of these things, and they wouldn't really show you a whole lot, and people were giving credit that, these things are building towards something big. And yeah, you had Civil War, you did have Endgame, but you had to sit through all these other movies in order to get context and all of that. And I think, anyone could have really enjoyed those films without seeing through all those other films, but it was just a bit much, to say the least. And I felt like them having so many films, it really affected the quality of those films, when I thought maybe if they scaled it back a bit and didn't have several movies being released every year. And there is a big crowd that say that those films are quality, that all of them are good. But I really kind of disagree with that. I think there was a lot of, not stinkers, but just subpar ones, mediocre ones that weren't really that great. You had a lot of people just, excuse me, I said Civil War before. I meant to say Infinity War. Civil War I did not like. That was like another example of like a film that was kind of half-baked. I didn't really enjoy that one that much. It was Infinity War that I enjoyed. The actual Avengers film. So, yeah, so with that in mind, that's what I'm really concerned about this climactic story event. Like, they're going for an Endgame style movie, in the future, or a show like that, and I have no interest in that. Just, build these things just naturally. Have them feel organic. Have them have a nice flow like The Mandalorian. We shouldn't have to worry about building towards something. All these different directors and producers working on some big, huge, massive project. Just like, I don't want Star Wars to get that big where they just whore it out like Marvel. But apparently that's kind of the direction they're going. I kind of like that, The Mandalorian is there. And that's kind of like their only show right now, and then we're gonna have to wait a whole year. There's anticipation. It feels special. All these shows, Star Wars not gonna really start to feel that special anymore. It's just gonna seem very commercial and just very a little too accessible. I think I like that kind of idea of that it's not always there. You kind of have to go back and watch the old stuff because you're longing for new material. And then when they give it to you, how they say, like, you want something for something, but then when you get it, it's kind of like anticlimactic in a way. And that's kind of like how it is here, because people are trying to kind of play that role right now, saying like, oh, well, we're Star Wars fans. We've got all this great content now that's so accessible to us. And I kind of see the positivity. We shouldn't just come on here right away and start shitting over things that we don't even know who the actors and the directors are. But it's just, we've seen mistakes like this made before, and people making excuses for it. So, we kind of have to be realists in the way. It's a bit too much. So anyway, Lando. We've got everyone's favorite scoundrel, Lando Calrissian, who will return in a brand new event series for Disney+. Justin Simeon, creator of the critically acclaimed Dear White People and a huge Star Wars fan, is developing the story. Okay, well, you already see what the guy is directing there. So, this is going to turn into a whole SJW fest. I could just feel it in my bones, guys, because you just saw what this guy worked on. So, I don't know if they're going to get Donald Glover involved and everything, who did a pretty good job in Solo, but I didn't really care for that film. I've been meaning to watch it again to see what my second take is on it, because I have not seen that film since it was released in 2018. So I think I might be long overdue to see that film again. It did come out in 2018, right? Yeah, no, it did. Okay. Alright, so with that in mind, this one I'm gonna have to watch with a keen eye, because I already don't trust the source who is going to be involved in this. Well, they say he's developing the story, so maybe he won't have that much. There'll be other writers. We got Star Wars Andor. Andor, a tense, nail-biting... Oh, wait a minute. What was this anyway? An event series. Oh, so it's going to be a TV series for Lando. Anyway, let's move on to Andor. A tense, nail-biting spy thriller created by Tony Gilroy is set to arrive on Disney in 2022. Diego Luna, reprising the role of rebel spy Cassian Andor from Rogue One, will be joined by a fantastic new cast that includes Stellan Skarsgård, Adria Arjona, Fiona Shaw, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so anyway, and Mon Mothma is going to be in there. Production kicked off 3 weeks ago in London. So as we see, this is Cassian Andor from Rogue One. I enjoyed Rogue One. People have a lot of mixed feelings about Rogue One, but I was a person who enjoyed Rogue One, and I enjoyed the filmmaking aspect of it. I liked the flow of the movie. It's not a perfect flow, but it is good. I like it. As far as it goes, like the characters involved, it left a lot to be desired. It really did. And, Cassian, he was a suitable character. I mean, but to give him his own show, he was a fine actor, but really just, like, fine. I mean, in the role that he was given, it was good. But to give the guy his own show? Okay. I mean, this just is kind of proof it's a little bit excessive. Maybe we need to slow down, because not even everyone was on board with Rogue One. And so maybe being a Rogue One fan, I should be happy about this. But, like, the weakest part of Rogue One was the characters. So, and most people kind of agree on that. The battle scenes, there were a few things, with the blind character that were good. And, there was a lot of excitement in that film. There were a lot of throwbacks, a lot of new things being shown. The war aspect was great. A lot of people said it really brought out the wars in Star Wars, and that's very much true. But, Cassian Andor, to give him his own show, I mean, before maybe you do like a Qui-Gon Jinn show, I mean, is anybody maybe thinking about that? Like, maybe that would be better? I mean, doesn't anyone think that maybe like any other character would have been better than Cassian? I'm just saying, it might sound weird that I'm ranting on this, being a character in the movie that I like, but it's just like this character himself getting it, I thought maybe even like, Jin Orso would be better of a choice than Cassian. I don't know, guys. I am just saying, this is kind of like really just trying to get as much out of the streaming service as possible, especially because they're, considering raising the price $1, so they want to give people a bang for their buck. But you can't just, like, first of all, like, with all these things coming out, there's, and they're gonna have probably big teams working on these things, but maybe too big where it's gonna really start to feel, I got a feeling we're gonna see a lot of series that are just okay and not mind-blowing or anything like that. Because even with all the Star Wars cartoons coming out, like with Rebels and all that, it was a little overwhelming for me even with that. Just having like 3 different cartoon shows out there, Clone Wars, Rebels, and what's the other one that came out? There was another one that came out. Even that was a bit too much. Just you're putting too much on my plate, and I can't digest all these shows. It was just a little too much for me. Then we have the Acolyte, which is Leslie Headland, Emmy Award-nominated creator of the mind-bending series Russian Doll, brings a new Star Wars series to Disney Plus with the Acolyte. The Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take the audience into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. So this is something that's been talked about. They have comics and books coming out about the High Republic. This sounds like it could be, the Acolyte. Sounds like something with the shadowy regions. We've seen this kind of explored before, like with really like dark Jedis. And I just got finished replaying a game I haven't in years, Star Wars Bounty Hunter, where we kind of see this side of the Sith, where they're just like dark and they're like on dark, distant planets, and there's almost like this satanic feeling going on there. So it could be interesting. But once again, to do a whole show about it, not just like an episode on The Mandalorian where we could maybe focus on this aspect, I think that's the thing that I'd like to see. I'd like to see a lot of these concepts maybe and characters on The Mandalorian, but to do a whole show. Anyway, we've got The Bad Batch, which they'd already announced this earlier in the year. They said the series follows the elite and experimental clones of the Bad Batch, which was first introduced in the Clone Wars, as they find their way into a rapidly changing galaxy. In the immediate aftermath of the Clone War, members of Bad Batch, a unique squad of clones who vary genetically from their brothers in the clone army, each possess a singular exceptional skill which makes them extraordinarily effective soldiers and a formidable crew. In the post-Clone War era, they will take on daring mercenary missions as they struggle to stay afloat and find new purpose. As you can see, that these guys look quite different than I'm not familiar with the Clone Wars, so I can't really talk about it from that perspective, but you can see they look very much different from Jango Fett, from the Tamora Morrison character. So that's probably why they didn't come out looking the same way that the Bad Batch. It's another cartoon that's probably going to take me years before I watch it, because I just know how I am. Something about these animated shows, it looks good, but I don't know. It's very hard for me to get into these things. I have to watch Clone Wars first, and then we'll go from there. This will also be on Disney Plus. Star Wars Visions. We've got presenting all new creative takes on the galaxy far, far away. Star Wars Visions will be a series of animated short films celebrating Star Wars through the lenses of the world's best anime creators. The anthology collection brings 10 fantastic visions from several of the leading Japanese anime studios. I've seen people do this stuff on YouTube anime, so it is kind of cool. So that could be something, as long as they're short and they're not too lengthy, it could be a nice little novelty to have. So, that's something there. A droid story. The minute I look at this, I just kind of think of Star Wars Droids, that cartoon that was on in the 80s. Anyway, they say, as Lucasfilm continues to develop new stories, the intersection of animation and visual effects offers new opportunities to explore. Lucasfilm Animation will be teaming up with Lucasfilm's visual effects team, Industrial Light and Magic, to develop a special Star Wars adventure for Disney Plus, a droid story. This epic journey will introduce us to a new hero guided by a legendary duo, R2-D2 and C-3PO. I guess this is going to be when Obi-Wan is not around them anymore. Who was their master? I thought it was Wedge Antilles, right? Wasn't that who was in possession of them? Anyway, I guess there's another gray area there because there's a lot of years to work with. But what is up with this whole other intro here? I don't even get it. Yeah, we know that Lucasfilm is trying to develop new stories and all that. So obviously this is going to be something animated. I don't know what really they're getting at there. There's just a lot of words going on here with not really saying what they really plan to do. I guess they're really trying to make this a bit more than the Bad Batch or Clone Wars or Rebels, maybe make more visually astounding to us, which could be nice. Other Lucasfilm stories. So we've got Lucasfilm is creating in pre-production on the next installment of the Indiana Jones franchise, which is something I'm greatly looking forward to. It's very long overdue. I do not know why it took them so long to get they've had so many different scripts of Indiana Jones 5, maybe even more than Indiana Jones 4. And they say at the helm is James Mangold, the director of the Academy Award-winning Ford vs. Ferrari, and Indy himself, Harrison Ford, will be back to continue its iconic character's journey. Indy will begin shooting late spring of 2021 and will arrive July 2022. And people about this are complaining because they're saying that what he should have done in the fourth film, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, he should just pass the torch, hand the mantle over. No, I'm sorry, that's not what they should do. You know what they should do? Just then not make any more films when Harrison Ford can't do it anymore. I don't want to see this passing the torch stuff. It's called Indiana Jones. There's only one Indiana Jones, and that's Dr. Jones, Harrison Ford himself. Thank you very much. I'm not into this passing the torch and seeing other other characters in the role of the beloved character that we've known for decades. I'm sorry, but that's not how it works. You can't have this like near 40-year movie franchises can be completely altered with different characters. Then we've got Willow, which is coming to Disney Plus. Will be set decades after Ron Howard's 1988 movie. Yeah, not really interested in that. Never even really saw that film. Then they say finally the Lucasfilm catalog is expanding further with a story that will introduce a new hero and explore an original world that feels perfectly paired with Lucasfilm storytelling. Then they talk about this novel, Children of Blood and Bone. The story will center around a young African girl's heart, racing quest to restore magic to her forsaken people. Okay, like Lucasfilm is trying to grow as a brand and everything, but like this is a lot of stuff for one studio to be working on, and I would just be happy with getting one good thing, instead of many good things. That would be great. If we could just get like one of these shows like to be good, like the Ahsoka one, or any of these other ones, but there's so much that they're doing here. They're really like just doing a lot all at once, like in a 3-year span, right? Like that was like the latest like release date that they had. Like they're doing movies, animation, other projects that have nothing to do with Star Wars. It's a lot. Like I would just think maybe like one new show, one new movie, and one other non-related Star Wars thing would be good enough. No, but it's got to be all at once. After they said that maybe we need to, take a breather here and slow our road between releases to make the brand feel more special. And, I don't know what it is. Kathleen Kennedy just feels like she knows what's best for Star Wars, even though there should have been a vote of no confidence a long time ago. They should have told this woman to hit the bricks because she's made so many colossal mistakes. They had to refilm everything for Kenobi, which I'm sorry, that's unacceptable at this point. We've been waiting a long time for that show, and it was like they were like halfway done doing it, and then they like completely threw the script out or something like that, or they were like almost like ready with that show, and I don't know like how many episodes they had filmed or what they already had in the can, but that just shows really bad management from Kathleen Kennedy. And many people were saying this like what a clusterfuck for a major show like that with a major actor like Ewan McGregor being on there. And I don't know if the original plan was to have Hayden Christensen in there, but you know what? I will say that if it wasn't originally meant to be, and by them reshooting and retooling here, that it led to Hayden Christensen now being in that show, then I'll say that was a good thing. But if he was already planned to be there, and it was just the fact that Kathleen couldn't, get all her ducks in a row, then I have to say that, honey, you need to step aside already. I don't know. I really wish that Lucas would have a stronger presence here. When it comes to Star Wars, I know that he's kind of a consultant on The Mandalorian, and it does show. Trust me, it does show on that show because there's so much charm going in there. You could clearly see the charm that was there in his 6 Star Wars films are ever present. So anyway, with that said, guys, this announcement, I gotta say, like on a lot of things, I'm leaning more critical here, a bit more negative. Because this is just way too much. Way too much stuff. Alright, so anyway, guys. I really hope that I'm wrong about that. I'm sure that a lot of this stuff will probably be good. Some of it will be good. I think we're almost sure to get some mediocre stuff. But anyway, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Click the bell so you get notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support, and thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.